Hello and welcome back, guys, to my world of Instagram conversations. I'm sorry, I just got disconnected. Guys, today we are going to have a conversation about being your authentic self, being who you are, and why is it essential for your existence to live an authentic life, and why have we lost that essence in us? Guys, like always, I have a special guest who is going to come on board. Her name is Faiza Zaidi. She's going to come on board and she's going to talk about why being and living your authentic self and your authentic life is so important. Guys, I am just waiting for her to come on board and we will connect and bring her live and we will take the conversation from there. I am just waiting to connect with her. I hope you all are doing great. Um, in these troubling times with the pandemic going on. I hope you're all safe. And I'm just waiting to connect with her and we'll take it from there. I'm just connecting with her. I have sent you the invitation, Faiza. Could you just accept it? Let me send you again. There we go. Oops, I dropped my pencil. Just a second, guys. Sorry. Um, Faiza, you declined the request. You have to accept the request so that we can go live together.
I don't know what was going on. I'm sorry, but
That's
I
all
was
right.
I, I was actually I was actually pressing the join button, but it wasn't connecting. I don't know. Maybe it's the connection issue.
Probably. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Did you have to wait for too long? I just saw it came
No,
live on my.
I came live, but I went off. I saw something running around in the other room, and it's dark in there. So I was like, I don't know what that thing is. It's too late here to check what it is, so I'm going to check in the morning. Just switch places.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. Anyway,
connection
um,
is okay, so should be
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
let's dive in our conversation before we really dig in and talk about our identity and all that. I just want you to do a self introduction about yourself for the audience.
yeah, sure. So my it's a long journey, sort of how I came about, but basically I'm a filmmaker by profession. So I create content for other brands and businesses, but I went through a journey of like a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. I went through like a journey of kind of, going about in my life, kind of losing myself in the process of trying to go after things that I felt were not anymore aligned to my soul. They were not really aligned to who I was as a person. And like I was always, as a child, in my childhood, early years, I was very like true to myself, but I felt like growing up, kind of absorbing people around me and things like that, and also having some toxic relationships along my journey. I felt like kind of lost myself in a way, but just momentarily. So I went to do this depression phase. But I mean, now that I look back at that depression phase, it makes me realize it was probably one of the best things that happened to me because it kind of led me into recognizing who I am in my core, and kind of moving about and operating from that place. So now whatever I want to create or do, it's basically from that place. I want to create content. I want to create whatever work I do creatively or professionally. I'm kind of aligning it to my soul journey, which is sort of kind of connected to the inner truth, and that's what I'm doing. I'm creating a podcast, I'm creating content online, I'm serving people who are on the similar path. So that's how I'm kind of working. Yeah.
Wow, that's absolutely phenomenal. And you said it so beautifully because I think we've all lost ourselves somewhere down the stream, I lost myself being in a toxic marriage, and when I was going through difficult times, it was hard for me to really see or recognize anything beyond my constant pain. But now being on the other side, I think that that was such a blessing in disguise. I know it kind of sounds cliche, but it was such a big blessing because it really connected me with my inner self in finding the true me, which somehow I had lost and disconnected with. I don't know when, at what point in my life, whether it was a 16, whether it was 18,
Yeah.
whatever societal or whatever pressures I had, but I had lost myself. And like you said, there was this void always, even when I was happy, that I'm not happy or I'm depressed or something. And now I don't feel that anymore because now I really know who I am, and I'm on a path, like you said. I'm serving people because I've been through that, and now I know how it feels being on both sides of the story or the word, whatever you want to say it. So I am so glad that you're here to really share your story and really help everybody learn and grow from your personal experiences, and of course a lot of other elements involved. So Faiza, my first question would be that, we've always seen, heard that be authentic, be genuine in your business, in your, your work and all that stuff. What do you, or how would you describe being authentic is?
Yeah. So for me, what I learned, um, I think there are few layers to it. I think one is honesty more toward yourself and being honest to everything that you're experiencing in the moment. Like right now, I'm having this conversation with you. Whatever I'm feeling internally, that honesty that I'm feeling inside of me has to reflect through me and reach to you, and you will sense that authenticity of my soul and my truth. So kind of that sense of feeling and true, whether that honesty could be anger, happiness,
Mm,
insecurity, love, it could be or nervousness even. But kind
mm,
of remaining honest to myself, but also honest to the moment, honest and being true to the moment. Sometimes we can speak honesty, we can speak the truth, we can say, but those truths may not necessarily have filters.
mm,
And I
mm,
think it's more about having that honesty with ourselves. I may say certain things that may not I may say certain things that may not be, they may be true, but they may not be filtered.
mm,
So I'm just trying to wrap it up. Yeah, just honesty
mm.
in the truth and honesty with myself, as I express, and
Exactly.
expression, inner expression. Yeah.
Right, right. So Faiza, tell me, why are we living in times, or why do we feel, or maybe I feel, that we are surrounded, including myself, living that life. We're surrounded with people who are not living their authentic self, and I think that is why there has been a rise in depression and anxiety and stuff like that. The mental health issues have gone extremely high, of course, with the pandemic also, but before the pandemic also, we could see that. So what's your take on that?
I think there are a few things. I mean, obviously, I don't consider myself like a professional coach, but
Mm,
knowing from my inner experiences and observing, because I always observe, especially being a filmmaker, that's like my childhood hobby. So I look around things.
mm,
Um, and I think there are a few things. I think one is, I think as a society, we're not a very healed society. We have a lot of traumas. Um,
mm,
we have a lot of whether, and the trauma could come from any society. It doesn't have to be a particular. So there's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of emotional abuse. There's a lot of physical abuse. There's a lot of stories, and I think that sort of causes us to
absolutely.
kind of build a guard. It kind of it kind of makes us kind of hide ourselves because of those traumas, and we kind of build a shelter around. So we kind of become comfortable in that space, and we don't want to open up ourselves. We don't want to be true to who we are, and it's easier, safer to hide behind something, to wear a
Mm,
mask, basically,
mm,
because there's so much pain and abuse and hurt. Um, I think that might be one of the reasons. Actually, that might be the universal reason, but I'm sure there must be individualistic stories and reasons to it. But that's kind of my sense,
absolutely,
basically.
absolutely, and I totally agree with you on what you said. So what would how would you explain that? Why? Keeping in mind your own self, of course, why do you think that nowadays people struggle being their authentic self so much? especially nowadays.
You mean during the pandemic or in general nowadays?
In general nowadays. Of course, I mean the pandemic is another topic altogether. But before the pandemic, also, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but before the pandemic actually happened, I was meeting people. And just to give you a little background, I was in US for 7 years, never visited my country, and I just moved back. So I heard this a lot in US, in my circle, my Pakistani circle, and I hear that a lot nowadays, especially from my elders, that people are, you don't find such quality people nowadays because people are so fake. People are not real, and I feel that, and I've seen that around as well. So how would you explain that, and why is
Right, I
everybody
got your
literally
point.
coming up and saying the same thing that, oh, there's money? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I got your point. I think another thing I wanted to mention from the previous question, which is also linked to this one, I think it's also to do with lack of self-awareness as well. I think sort of when we don't know ourselves, we again, it's another thing. Then we hide there. So there's a healing that needs to happen, but there's also awareness that needs to happen. Authentic. You can only reach that depth of your authenticity when you go into the journey of the darkness and journey of pain, like you have in your story. And you have to go through that inner journey to really realize who you are, getting rid of those conditionings, getting rid of those, freeing yourself from lots of thoughts that may not even be your true thoughts. You start believing this is who you're supposed to be. But actually, who you're supposed to be is you, which is your unlearning the
Mm,
process and knowing yourself. So I think it's a lack of self-awareness. I think it's a lack of knowing who they are. So they feel they have to wear a mask, or especially in Pakistani society, it's like or even any society, not necessarily. I don't want to like criticize just Pakistani society, but because I'm Pakistani, I can say that
yes,
also.
we can
But
say that.
we can say that we can.
Mhm.
But any society or any
Mm.
person who's sort of not being their true self is it's to do with the fact that I feel it's to do with the fact that it's fear. It's also fear of showing our true self. It's not unlearning what the conditionings are, and it's like I feel like in my journey, for example, I felt like there was a true. I mean, I was true to myself, but when I went into the depression phase, I felt like I'm lying to myself. I felt like I'm hiding behind something, and that created a lot of like insecurity in me and fear in me. And I was never this person. I mean, obviously, if you know my story, I was very strong-headed, very like convicted person, very like honest to myself. But even in that phase, I lost that, and it was only for about a year. But that made me realize, wow, I was never this person, and I'm becoming that. So then it made me actually realize, wow, how many people who go through that, and some of them probably don't even know who they are. At least in my case, I knew that, and I just had to come back to it. So I feel
Mm.
like not knowing yourself is a big one as well.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think, like you said, for me it was 9 months, and for me to come home, and once again, Pakistan, coming home from a failed marriage, the only question was, uh, why me, and where did I go wrong? And it was really when I had to seriously close the outer voices of people and their opinions, and I literally went in a shell where I would not leave my room, and now it's become a joke because they say, oh, you remember you sit on that one sofa all the time, that one sofa, and we were like, you're going crazy. And I used to tell them, I meet you guys and I think I'm crazy. When I'm with myself, I feel at peace. And they're like, you are 24/7 on that bloody sofa, and you're saying you're sane, and reading people makes you insane. And I was like, yes, yes. And that was where I actually discovered myself, who I truly was, and where I was able to become self-aware that I was wounded and I needed to heal. And I lost a daughter in 2013. And at that point, I thought that I had another girl. She was 2.5, my daughter Sarah, my firstborn. And at that point, my only thing was, I need to take care of my daughter who is alive with me, and I need to be more thankful that I have her. and I had to take care of my husband because he's a smoker. So, oh, I cannot grieve. I don't have time to grieve. I won't say I didn't cry, but I don't think I actually truly accepted it because it hit me that my daughter needs me. So when I really took back from people, I really realized that why that after, well, I had a son after I lost my daughter. That why am I totally different mother to my son than I've ever been, because I've had so many insecurities losing a child. And when people used to call me out, I used to say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going crazy." But I could never get a hold on myself that why I was acting in a particular way towards my son, because I hadn't grieved my daughter. I hadn't forgiven myself for losing a child, and all that stuff. And that just being one part of it. The other part was becoming self-aware, and healing in self-awareness is not like, yay, I'm self-aware and healing. Healing is, for me, I would say healing was more painful than the trauma itself. It was really, I, I literally was disgusted with myself. I couldn't even recognize. I said, I am not this person. I cannot, because you actually start to see your own mistakes. You see, the problem a lot, which I feel, being in the coaching field as well, is that, and I'm not saying to blame anybody. I think it's conditioning and whatever, but we are brought up, especially our generation is brought up, where we don't want to take responsibility for our actions, and it's so easier to blame the other person. While that is valid, that you are abused or you were hurt or somebody did this to you, you have to take a step back and ask yourself why. And I asked myself that, Faiza, I asked myself, why was I in this toxic marriage? I validated myself that what I went through is valid and I shouldn't have been through that. I didn't deserve that. But why did it take me 7 years to recognize the fact I was in a toxic relationship? Oh, and then it connected. Oh, well, I had low self esteem. Oh, and then why did I have that low self esteem? And then connecting the dots and understanding who and what and where everything around me um, played a role in it. And then I became bitter before I came better. I honestly became bitter. I hated everybody. But then I realized that what do I really want from people, from my family, from my loved ones, from my friends especially? I wanted their empathy, I wanted their compassion, and I wanted them to understand me without judging me or saying, no, but you could have done this. No, but you could have done that. And I was like, this is what I really wanted and want. And how did I fix that? Was, if I want that, am I willing to give that? Because I wasn't giving that. I had become this monster because I was so bitter. Or you didn't understand me at that point, so I don't want to see your face. Don't talk to me. You're below me, and like that. So I really had to go through that and then step back and say, okay, you're healing, you're becoming self-aware, but you're becoming arrogant and you're becoming worse. So you really need to reevaluate yourself, that what are you trying to put out there if you're becoming self-aware. And if you're saying I'm healed, if you healed, but when you talk it's like you're throwing poison out of your mouth. And I said, okay, and I was like, okay, I am going to step up and be the compassionate one, and be the understanding one, and be the non-judgmental one, because when I do that, then I will be open to receiving it. And it was astonishing to see that. That was a big game changer for me in my life. Not just that, actually truly forgiving others first helped me truly forgive myself. Uh, Hurting somebody, uh, forgiving somebody who's hurt you to a point where you lost your sanity, it's not it's not easy. But I know that, well, I had a lot of faith in God, and I think that I'm truly blessed today, not because of me, but because God was watching me and God was guiding me, and God helped me forgive that person or all those people in order to forgive myself. And I always reminded myself that I can say ABC has hurt me, but do I ever think that I could have also hurt somebody else that way, not knowingly, you know? So it
That's
was a big game changer for me.
that's the thing about abuse. Like if you and sometimes you're not aware of it, but one thing about abuse is that if you end up taking it towards yourself, sometimes what happens is you become the abuser as well somehow
Mm-hmm.
towards yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
because you take so much toxicity on you, you carry that baggage, so you could end up giving to other people without realizing it,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's where the awareness and the healing has to come in, and you have to unlearn to not pass it on, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing that you did that. But I have a question to ask you as well, actually.
Absolutely.
Um, so did you felt that in your journey of this relationship, did you felt before that the Mavish you were, Mavish is the way you pronounce it, right? The
Yes,
name, yeah.
absolutely.
My cousin's name is Mavish too. Anyway, so the Mavish you were before that, before your marriage, or like let's say in your childhood time or something, would you say you were more self-assured, or do you think the self-esteem was kind of part of your childhood early process, like now that you reflect back?
I think that my self-esteem was damaged in my childhood, uh, and uh, being the youngest member of my entire family, I've been pampered, spoiled, loved. Uh, a lot. You know how Pakistani culture is. So if you are the youngest in the house and in the entire family, you can imagine how spoiled and pampered I was. I think in my healing journey, I misused it, saying that, oh, I'm not loved. I was loved. I was loved like nobody in the family. Yes, but I can say that maybe what the kind of love I wanted, I wasn't receiving. Everybody was loving me the way they thought. They wanted to love me. They wanted to cuddle me. They wanted to make me the baby of the whatever that was. But at that point, maybe that wasn't the love I was looking for. That was something I really need to recognize in myself. So my self esteem, I think I would say, not in my childhood was damaged. To be more precise, it was damaged when I was rejected a million times when proposal came, and the proposer would reject me because, oh, the girl is too short.
This process of
Her
Pakistani marriage, I don't approve of. But anyway,
she is she's over age. She's almost 25. She's
yeah.
not married. She was engaged in her own family, and it didn't work out. And I think after going over, I say like 100 proposals. I don't know how many I went through. I mean, 30, 40. And of course, out of 30, 40, I remember rejecting maybe five. And a lot of rejection came because it was like this. The family would come see me. I would meet the boy. The middle person would call my mom and say, you know what? They're in love with you. Oh my God. Tomorrow they're coming with the engagement ring. And you're young and you're like, oh my God, I like the guy. And they're coming tomorrow with the engagement. And then that tomorrow never came in my life. That tomorrow actually never came. And me being loved, and never, my parents never brought me up like I was less or I wasn't beautiful or I wasn't like criticized like that. So for me, I was like, what the hell? Why am I being rejected? What is wrong? I think that is where
But
I lost myself, and
that
I grabbed on to the first proposal.
that happens to a
Uh,
lot of girls in the Pakistani culture as well. So that's an
it
interesting
it
point as well.
it does happen because honestly, you said that, and it's funny because I was talking to somebody and they said no. So you tell me, my cousin actually, she said, how is your self-esteem, how was your self-esteem damaged as a childhood, in your childhood, because you were so loved and you were so, and I was like, you know what, now that you say that, I need to reevaluate my story because I don't know where that is coming from. Because to actually reflect and go back, I was loved, I was pampered. Look, it's never going to be perfect. Even with your parents, with any relationship, it's never going to be perfect. And one of the things I really, really say to people is communicate. I think that if I go back when I was young, if I were to go up to my mom and dad and say, "Yay, you love me, but I want you to love me by taking me out for dinner on the weekend. I'm just giving an example. Not by buying me stuff. I think when I am not communicating, the other person is thinking that we're doing our part, we're loving that person the way we think they need to be loved. And now I realize that everybody really loved me a lot. I was the baby of the family. I'm still treated as a baby, which frustrates me. But the thing is that we have to be really clear in our communication. If you and I are talking and I'm offended by something, but I say, why say that? Why bring, we're not ready to have that uncomfortable conversation. Why not? If Pfizer doesn't understand, then we'll have a difference of opinion and we respect that because we're adults. But we're so scared to have those uncomfortable conversations. We're so scared that, oh, what if it leads towards rejection? What if we fall off that comfort zone? So for me, I think that my self-esteem was damaged. I think, to be 100% correct, is when I was rejected because of the proposals. But I think being in a Pakistani culture, uh, most of the girls in our culture's esteem are, well, not nowadays, things have changed, but in our generation, I think most of the self esteem was really damaged because girls were not allowed to do things the way they wanted. We're not allowed to mingle. Say, I come from a feudal home, so landlords and all that system. So I think that when I did a survey, I just saw that girls just have a lot of low esteem in my part of the, or had a lot of low self esteem due to a lot of cultural reasons.
I agree. And I think also, I mean, obviously, I don't know what age you got married, but I've also noticed the pattern. I think girls get married really early in their age as well, so they don't get the chance to learn about themselves, you know. So that's one of the issues.
I, and I got married when I was 26.
Still young, I feel, you know.
I think I was very young, but everybody in my family got married.
Yeah,
Like
according to
you're in your
culture, this
bachelor's,
is not young. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I
you're
think
20
I
and you're
think
married.
but I think it's not about the age. I think it's about when you feel you're ready, you know.
I think now, of course, things have changed. Girls have, started to stand more, women empowerment and stuff like that
Yeah,
has really shown up. Although we
back
have
in the time.
a lot of work to do, but I think that nowadays the generation of women have a better chance at exploring and wanting to live their life more than just, tying the knot.
Yeah, yeah.
So Faiza, coming to the question, since we're talking about it, what role do you feel uh, culture and society plays in your self image or your being authentic? What role do you think these two things play in that?
I think, Danish, I think culture plays a huge role. Uh, Not just culture, I think family dynamics as well,
Mm-hmm.
and also many like society in general plays a huge role. But I think once you know yourself and once you learn who you are, I think then it becomes irrelevant. You know, like it's like there's no fight anymore. There's no, because I remember when I was a kid and I lived my childhood in Pakistan as well. Obviously, growing my years, I've been living in London, but my early childhood, I was living in Pakistan. I was living in Lahore, and I I remember the conditioning was there, but I feel like as a child I had a very, that's why I asked you that question about the self-esteem, because I felt like I had a very solid self-esteem and confidence, you know, when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And and I remember like if people would tell me something, I would not let anyone tell me how it should be. And it kind of made me a rebel as a child as well, because that's what you go the other extreme, then you kind of become a bit of a rebel, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of that but then what happened with that was that I became very strong. I felt like I could nobody can sort of like tell me what I need to do, even in the culture of that kind of environment. And my parents kind of
Mm.
respected that. I noticed that my parents really like respect, like my mom and my father at that time really respected that, right? And even my siblings or my cousins, or school friends. So
Mm.
I feel like there is an environment, there is a conditioning, but it's about confidence. But of course, not everyone has that confidence when they're young.
And that
I can,
threshold be
yeah,
strong
yeah,
like that,
yeah,
like you
yeah,
were.
yeah, yeah. So I can totally relate with that. So yeah, I do think it has a huge impact, and creating a loving environment for children, and I think you can have, however the society is, it is how it is, but the major change has to happen within family context and dynamics. So let's
Mm.
say if you have a child, then I think that's where the conversation starts needs happening, and parents need to communicate more with their kids, and kids have feeling more that they can express to their parents. Because, and I think in also in most cultures, not just Pakistani cultures, even in the Western cultures, I've noticed that parents don't really build relationship with their children, as in to really understand who they are, and it's more about whatever the kind of conditioning they have, they're downloading it onto their children. They're kind of
Mm.
telling them what they should, because of their own pressure, because of trying to fit in with other people, or trying to
Mm.
impress other people. So it's like insecurity that they're holding, and they're kind of laying
Mm.
it to their children. So not putting that pressure on their children would be good. But yeah, I think it does have a play, but it's about how you individually manage it and then not pass it on to your children.
Mm. I think you're right because for me personally, I think culture, society, and like you said, family dynamics played a very crucial role in my thought process till I was actually independent and away from Pakistan, living in US on my own, really discovering, oh, what the hell, what kind of models are these, or what kind of values are these? They make no sense. They're so irrelevant. But I think that being a Pakistani society, I think culture is it's really bad here, Faiza. I think culture has become such a big headache, that culture comes before everything. How the society sees you is everything. I mean, we are people of God. We believe in God. Everything is analyzed before we think and before Allah. But now the society has become so bad that what will the society say? So the society will say that, but we don't want to think about God. So just because we want to please the society, we're going to go with it. And I can give you my example. When I came home, leaving my husband, my so when I was thinking about coming, I never wanted to come to Pakistan. I'll be honest, I never wanted to come back. I did not, and I still do not want to raise my kids here. Uh, 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 and not knowing where to go, I called up my cousins, and I was like, I have things changed in the country. They, oh, divorce has become so, everybody, so this is the answer I got. Everybody's getting divorced. It's become so normalized. Don't worry about it. Your kids will be fine. It's not like that, when somebody would get divorced, I'd be like, shush, 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 don't meet that girl. And it's not like that's very normalized. So I was like, okay, I had my reservations. It took me 7 months to take the step to come back home. And I was like, no, it's my home. I'm going to my parents, and that's what really matters. Coming home, I realized it's just a facade. You on the face of it, you say it's okay, you're divorced, you separated, or blah blah blah. But for the society to actually accept the fact you're a divorced woman or you're a separated woman, it's the same 100 years ago. You are not welcomed with acceptance and warmth. And I feel that at times my own family, who was so supportive and loving, felt the pressure and put pressure on me, you know. So I would say, I'll give you an example. My dad, he has supported me 100%. It's okay, I'm here, you come back. But one day he'll come home and you say, I was sitting with friends, so he's sitting with his male friends, and they were saying, you should think about the your grandkids' future. The father is an important role, and blah, and he's not saying that to me that go back, but the energy I'm getting is that my father is getting stressed now because society is putting that pressure on my father that you're okay with your daughter coming home from a failed marriage. It's okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with people here? And one of the things I really needed to penetrate into my society was, listen, a woman does not break her home because it she works a lot, and when she walks away, she's absolutely 100% sure that she's done everything. So don't walk up to her and say, but think about the kids, but there is no but. She has overgone again and again and again and again that cycle of the buts before she comes to the conclusion that this is not going to work. And I can understand if people don't understand, because I've lived a life, seriously, Faiza, I've lived a life when I was conditioned to believe that it is a job of the woman to make the marriage work, to compromise. I am one of those women who in her young age believed that you need to suck it up, and men can do anything and everything, but you need to compromise and keep the marriage intact. So I was always against divorce. I looked down on divorce. I looked down on women who were divorced. Okay, that was me. But not knowing anything better, I lived it. And now I understand that when a woman, takes that step, she has done her utmost to make the marriage work. So I think that um, see, everybody has their own experience. For me, when I talk about USA, it's totally different. For me, it's been a breath of fresh air. It changed me. It brought compassion in me. Uh, it basically just revived being a Muslim.
Helped you heal as well.
Yes, it helped me heal. It actually told me how important it is to be human. And I repeat this a lot in my live streams. And it is, I'm having a bad day. I step out of my home. I'm putting my kids in the car. I'm not in a good mood. My neighbor's walking by. He says, hello, how are you? What is that? It's nothing. It is nothing, really. That instantaneously changes my mood. It changes my mood. It changes the way my day is going to go. So the little things add up to so much. And I know people say that, oh, you don't love your country. I love my country, okay, but I'm not going to love it blindly, where I say this is the way it's always been in our country. Why can't we change? Why are we not open to changing? Why we want to sit and say, oh, well, this is Pakistan. This is the way it goes here. You need to accept this. Are you crazy? You live more. Well, I've lived most of my life in my country, just the 7 years abroad. Uh, and I'm like, why? Why? If the educated people are going to come up and say that this is Pakistan and this is the way it's always been, then what more do you expect? You have got to be the one who steps up and says, this is not right. I'm going to do the change. You got to live it first for others to actually see. And I've done that, and I've seen the way people have changed around me, because I wasn't comfortable. I was giving in to what they were saying. So I felt weak. But when I stepped back and said no, so that there comes the thing, the boundaries. So I can have a whole discussion on boundaries though.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you bought that boundary and you said no, this is the right thing to do. You don't have that say in my life. You've not walked my life. And you get that resentment in the beginning, but then you see that people who love you truly do see and accept that this is the right thing to do, and this is the way it should be. So for me, I think that cultural conditioning has, and media and all that has just taken our being authentic. It's just taken it from us. Sadly, we just want to be more fake, more filters, more photoshopping, and talking about that. I want to ask you about body image. What role does body image play?
That's a good one because it was one of my posts, wasn't it? Well, and especially in Eastern culture, but I think it's everywhere again. I feel like body image has really affected the way men and women sort of see themselves, and
Mm,
I feel like a lot of it, like it's good to appreciate yourself and take care of yourself and look at yourself, but a lot of times people judge themselves that they have to fit a certain size in order to be accepted, especially the women in these cultures,
mm,
and girls sometimes feel like they have, like even my sister actually, like when I talk to her or interact with her, I've noticed that it's really important for her to fit a certain size, and then she's going to feel validated, she's going to feel happy. And I always tell her, like, you don't need to feel like that, because it's got nothing to do with, I understand that you want to feel good about your body, you want to look good, there's nothing wrong in that, but what's important is that you not fitting into that does not make you unbeautiful, or does not make you not beautiful. You're your
mm,
unique person, you're your unique self. For example, me, I don't think I fit in any stereotypical female class, Pakistani, Indian, any, even
mm,
like Western. I don't think I fit in any category as the way I look. I think I'm very unconventional looking, but I accept that about myself. Like,
mm,
and you know, you don't have to fit in to feel or look beautiful. You can feel that how you see yourself. And
mm,
I think beauty is something that you have it in somebody's aura and energy. I think it's at least for me. I think I find people beautiful when I sense this sense of safeness and personality. So anyway, that's how I see it. But I understand most people don't. But I think it's to do with insecurity. It's to do with the fact that they feel that they have to get validation from outside. They feel they have to fit a certain box, a check box, to feel
mm,
they're validated. There's something. But again, I feel like it all comes down to who you are. Everything comes
mm,
down to the beauty of coming who you are is
mhm,
everything, whether it's your career, your job, your body, everything. Because if you know who you are, you accept where you are in your journey, who you are. And then of course you do improve yourself. You do go about your business and make work on yourself in other ways. If there's certain things you want to change, there's nothing wrong in that. But fitting yourself in a box and evaluating yourself under a measuring stick or a weight machine or something. I just feel I think it really needs to go. I think it's, and not just for women, for everybody, I feel like. But of course, taking care of yourself, taking care of your health, of course, go for it. But I just feel like seeing yourself under that, people need to get rid of that conditioning, because it's just
absolutely.
really messing people up, I feel,
Hmm.
mentally and emotionally.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've struggled with, I'm not that tall, struggled with weight. And I remember at some point, every person around me, especially my friends, were like, my Pakistani friends, especially were like, you need to lose weight. You're so overweight and it's not good for your health. And I was like, now when I look back, I feel that maybe if they had just come up to me and said that, just look after your health, it would have been more appreciated. But
Practical as well.
yes, but I remember being really, really, really in a bad place as far as my weight was concerned last year. And I wasn't bothered because at that point my priority was not losing my weight. My priority was fixing my mental health, which was shattered. So when people would come and that's the only conversation they wanted to have, I
Yeah,
was like,
right.
I was like, oh my goodness, do you even know what's going inside of this body? Like I'm dealing with hell right now. Weight is not something I want to deal with. And for a lot of people, I know that when they're stressed or depressed, they eat a lot. I'm one of them.
I'm one of them. Most people are one of them. Yeah.
When I'm worried, okay, I'm worried. I don't want to worry. Where's that chocolate bar? Where is the ice cream? Let's have some pizzas, okay? Because I don't want to think about that. I want to feel good. I want to feel
Just
happy.
feel, yeah.
And it's really strange, Faiza, because once I became self-aware, once I connected with myself, I realized I was an emotional eater, and not just that, I realized way to control myself. So okay, this has happened. I'm really stressed out. Now I know. I knew what I was going to do. I was going to go and open the fridge and get an ice cream from there and have the whole bucket. Now I had to tell myself, sit down, You don't need to have the ice cream. You just need a distraction. You need to feel full right now because you don't want to feel that emotion. So yeah. So I'm not going to do that because I'm going to have the ice cream, feel guilty, feel more guilty, cry more afterwards because that wasn't required. So I might as well sit and really truly put my hand here and ask myself, what is that I feel right now? What is my body asking me right now? What is the emotion I want to feel, and why am I hiding or running from it? And I'm still not at my ideal weight, but I would say it has taken a drastic turn towards my eating. I've become self-aware eater.
But when it comes to going on your journey of losing the weight, do you feel like you're now attached to the weight machine? It has to be a certain weight, or you have to fit a certain size, or is it more for your health reasons? And what's your
No, no.
intention behind?
I think it's more from my health reasons because having a lot of history on both my mom and my dad's side, and knowing that, of course, with the COVID also, if you're overweight or what, it's so important for you to be a certain way. I know a lot of people tell me like, oh, go back to being 100 pounds or 105 pounds or 110 pounds, and I say, I'm not looking for that. I'm just gonna be realistic. I think 130 is realistic for me after having three kids. So I think that's good enough. It takes me off the charts of being overweight as far as my height is concerned and all that. And just being, yeah, I like being toned and in shape because I like looking that way, not because I I know even when I reach my ideal body, people are going to say, no, go ahead, you need to lose more, you can do more. So I told myself, you know what, you're going to set that goal, whichever one. You can talk to your doctor, uh, and you can see what's good for you, and that's it. You're not going to go crazy. The one thing I never worry about is, which is a good thing and a bad thing, is my weight. I don't worry about it. I'm healthy, and I can do anything. Throw it at me, I'll do it. So I don't feel that. But I think I want to highlight that is that again, I'm talking about my culture, is that because I recently I heard somebody say that the guy rejected the girl because she was fat. And I was like, really? Even nowadays this happens? Like the guy, so Faiza, everything was good. They spoke on the phone. I just know the story. I don't know the people, who they are. I just heard somebody saying that. So they had a great chemistry. They spoke on phone for a couple of times and then the families met. When the guy came home and said, oh, she's overweight or she's fat, whatever the term was used, I can't because we're going to get married, we're going to have kids, then she'll become obese. So no. So they declined the proposal. I don't even know what they said to the girl family and why they are putting down the proposal. But why? Why do we live like that? Why is the weight uh, being seen or measured like that? Do you do you think that media plays a lot of role in that conditioning, or what is your take on that?
I'm not sure media is playing a huge part anymore, but yeah, subconsciously maybe. I think a lot of like movies are changing and bringing those things out now, but maybe in the past, like our early childhood, maybe there was a lot of like, the typical stereotypical beauty they used to show. So it's like a conditioning, and people see that's the perfect beauty. But I
Hmm.
feel like now things are changing a little bit, like cinema, and whether that's, Asian cinema like Bollywood, or if it's Hollywood, or even like European cinema, they have they play more with characters. So I don't really
Hmm.
feel anymore it's the media so much, but I feel like the conditioning probably is kind of transferring through parents generationally, towards people's mindset as well. So I'm guessing it's
Hmm.
both, but
Hmm.
what I don't understand is in this whole thing that like who decides those rules, like who decides that skinny is beautiful, or fat is ugly, or who decides that you have to if you're a woman, then you should, you're in the position to be rejected. Like who's given all those authority to other people? Like that's the big
mm,
question. I think women need to start asking themselves to, in
mm.
order to empower themselves. Like, who is somebody else
Absolutely.
to who is, if somebody came to me and rejected me for that reason, I would ask myself, who is who is this person for me to put them in the position of authority? Like, I feel like
Mm,
sometimes people put other people on authority and pedestal, and that's again to do
mm,
with insecurity, and
mm,
not accepting yourself. And I feel like I feel like it's conditioning, but conditioning can only play a certain part. I think it's to do with the fact that individuals insecurity.
mm,
Like, if I'm an insecure person, then I need validation, so I need to show a partner who fits, a certain image, or I have to find a job that fits a certain image. So it's become an image thing because of insecurity, because of,
mm,
again, not accepting yourself, not knowing yourself, so you can actually accept yourself.
mm,
So there's a lot of healing that needs to happen in society as a whole, and
mm.
unlearning of these conditionings so people can really see people of who they are. And I feel that
Yes, I agree.
reconnecting
And
early.
it's and I want to add on that my daughter being raised in US and coming back and she was really upset and one day she's crying and I was like, what's going on? And she's like, Mama, what's wrong with people here? Why do they keep on telling you so fat?
Oh,
And
her or you or who?
people telling her mom, so me telling me I'm fat. So
Okay.
she was
Okay.
upset because
Okay.
in American culture we don't talk like that. Definitely not. So she was like that, and I was like, oh, it doesn't bother me. And she was like, well, it bothers me. It's rude. All they talk about is you're fat, you're fat. And it's I don't like that. People say that to you. And I told her, and I said, listen, it's okay. It's a different culture. You're adjusting. This is normal over here. They're actually coming to me with concern. That's why they're saying that basically the reason behind that is that they're concerned. But for me, I feel very sexy, very accepting. And even with this weight, I can get anybody if I want. So trust me, I don't feel insecure with my weight, or I don't feel like, oh, now I'm overweight, this or that. And she started laughing on that. And she's like, Mama. And I said, no, I want you to see how I see it. Because I don't see it as a rejection. I'm not self rejecting myself at a personal level. When people are saying that, I laugh it out. Sometimes I do cry because I'm dealing with so much, but seeing the larger picture, I think I can be any weight and size, and if I am accepting, if I feel good about myself, I can have anybody, be with anybody, and my weight is not going to be an issue. So I think, like you said, it is about getting over your insecurities and realizing and breaking those barriers and overcoming those conditions that have been passed on to us.
So question
And
I have a question on that. So when these people were to say it, do you think it's actually concerned though? Like, that's my
absolutely,
question.
to be honest, 90% of the time people were concerned. We having a family history of people having heart problem and cancer and stuff like that. So they were not saying it to
Put you down.
to put me down or damage my self image, especially not my family. But I could differentiate when somebody I didn't know was coming and saying it to me, like, and I was like, do I even know you?
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and next time when I meet you, I'll get more dressed up and show you that I'm still sexy regardless of my weight and size. So it doesn't really matter to me. You can keep on saying that. I'm just going to act as if I can't hear you. So and I struggled with that my entire life. And I always, like you said, I always thought that I have to be a certain weight uh, to be able to be accepted in the society. Being having a short height, I thought that if I was, and I was used to hear that too. Oh, if you become fat or if you're overweight, oh, you're not gonna get married. Nobody's gonna marry you. So I was very, very, very like, oh no, I can't be overweight. Oh, I've gained weight. I need to put it on. No proposal's gonna come, and stuff like that. But then, and for me again, being environment. I had a lot of Pakistani friends in USA, and they were totally okay with their size or their weight, and I was like, wow, they feel so comfortable in their own skin and their size. I like that. I want to be like that. So for me, I learned that from there. So I'm grateful for that experience and acceptance from there. Faiza, two quick questions, and I know it's been really long, and we'll wrap it up. uh, what will you say, or what is the importance of self-care and self-love? Of self-love and self-care.
Uh, I think it has a lot of importance. I think it's if one does not love themselves or take care of themselves, then I think they will really lose the trust and believe in themselves in everything they do. Because taking care of yourself is the fundamental aspect, and also it's also a guide towards reaching your true self. Actually, I feel like self love is the path towards the journey of self awareness, because as you, I feel like they're kind of connected together. As you get to know yourself more, you give that love to the person you get to know, and as you do that, then you reach a place of acceptance. And if you
Mm,
do, then whatever happens around you, or whatever the situation is, or even if there are people judging or something, you accept yourself, you love yourself, so you don't care. That's important.
yes, absolutely. I think for self-love and self-care, it's so important because your mental health is so essential. I think regardless, I mean, I'm uh, uh, not saying that not take care of your weight or all that stuff, but you can take care of everything, and not taking care of your mental health, you're gonna collapse. And I know my father would sit with me and have these conversations. So my father is an athletic. He's played all his life cricket, and he's very active, and he's always taking care of his health, his weight and stuff. And he says, I cannot understand that person who's so fit, goes to the gym, has a good diet, doesn't wake up the next day, and what's going on. And it was just a few months before COVID happened, and I was like, because you don't know what's going inside of his head. Just reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm here for you. You want to talk about something? And they'll pour themselves out, because people are just going through so much up here, and nobody is actually willing to see that. That it really, really, for me, it really shakes me, because I approached a lady. She is obese, and I said, can I ask you something? And she said, and I said, doesn't this bother you, people saying that to you, that you're obese or you're overweight and like that? And she's like, no, 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 it doesn't bother me. Huh? I mean, I don't know, in her 60s or 70s, whatever her age was. And I was like, and I held her hand and I said, but has anybody ever asked you what led you to being overweight? Did you have a rough married life, or were your in-laws rough, or something was missing in your life, and you couldn't compensate that, and that led you to being overweight? And Faiza, she literally was holding herself from crying. Of course, she didn't know me at a personal level, and I could see in her eyes there is a story. There was a story she wanted to say and share, that she had killed inside of herself, and just accepted the fact that people are just going to call me fat or obese or whatever, and not going to accept me. And she just said no. And I said, it's okay if you don't want to talk about it, but at some point, if you want to talk about it, I'm here for you. And I think that goes such a long way. Mental health is so important, and that comes back to self love and self care and self acceptance, self forgiveness, and all that. All that is so important, especially in nowadays. It was Ramadan, and my mom woke me up in this pandemic. My mom woke me and she's like, did you hear the noise? And I was like, no, I didn't hear any noise. I was sleeping. And she's like, there was so much of screaming going on at 10 a.m. And finally at 11 a.m., I woke up and she woke me about 11:45 or something. And I was like, what's going on? And she's like, so we live in apartments. So a kid in the seventh floor had committed suicide. And he did his seri, he did, and he went to sleep. And I don't know when the thing happened. I've forgotten now. And I woke up and I was in shock and I went and I saw the ambulance and I didn't go out, of course. I don't know the family and anything. But the only thing that hit me in that moment was I've seen this kid 1,000 times when I'm putting the laundry outside or when I'm picking up the laundry or when I'm doing something outside, outside my door, seeing them going up in the lift and stuff. And I never reached out to him. Maybe if I reached out, maybe he had nobody to talk to. Nobody knows his story. Nobody knows why he did that. And that hit me so much. And that is why I asked you and I want to say that just be nice and kind to people these days. We never know what's going inside of people's head, inside of their houses. You know, it's so important to say, give that smile, which we think is irrelevant, or help somebody pick up their groceries. Those little things can go such a long way in someone's life. We don't know what somebody's going through when we step out of the door. So please, self love, self care. When you have self love, when you have self care, only then you will be willing to see these things. Otherwise, you'll be bitter because you can't accept yourself and you won't be willing to give that out to others as well.
I have something to add to that. I think the self-love and self-care, yes, but more importantly, go in the journey of knowing yourself, because if you don't know yourself, reaching to the self-care and self-love, like I've spoken to so many friends and they say, how can I love myself? How can I, you say that, but how can I love myself? How can I really accept myself? Like, and then I think that what clicks me is when you don't know yourself, you can't reach that place. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And
absolutely.
sometimes people think self-love or self-care is all about narcissism, or is to do with the fact that it's about the overall superficial stuff. I'm not
Mm,
saying taking care of course taking care of health is important, or fitness, or the way you even want to look,
mm.
but I think it's a journey of knowing who you are, and in the journey then fully accepting everything, even if it's the darkness of you, and then kind of looking at it with a place of love and compassion. I think that's, to me, that's self-love. And I think a lot of
Yes, yes,
people don't understand what it really means. And I think, to me, that's what it means. So,
yes,
and a lot of people don't understand, like, how can I love myself? And I think that's the journey, like going in the journey to discovering who you are, and within the discovery, loving yourself each and every moment. So that's what I
yes.
wanted to
Loving
add.
yourself with all your flaws, actually, loving
Yes,
yourself and
yes,
accepting yourself with all your flaws,
with your
and
darkness.
telling yourself it was okay. I didn't know better then, and I made that choice. It doesn't make me bad. I've learned and grown from that. People just start hating themselves in that process. So well said. Absolutely, I totally agree with you. My last and final question, Faiza: how do we, or what message will you give, or how can we both help people stop the negative talk that they have with themselves?
Beautiful question. I wasn't prepared for that. How can we stop somebody from a negative self-talk, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Um, I really believe that if you can really find a way to connect with that inner self, um, whether that's through your spirituality, through God, through whatever, whatever helps you, you know,
Mm.
finding a path into that, and kind of knowing knowing yourself, kind of connecting with that inner peace, the inner silence. I think then I think then the negative self-talk, you will see that it's actually not your own talk, it's not your own
Mm.
thoughts.
Mm.
You will be able to differentiate, and I'm sure you probably experience this when you get
Yes.
into the spiritual connect. You start to realize everything that's sort of moving around is just a tape, and that's not even you. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
the negative talk is not even you. It's actually all the brainwashing that you've led to believe about yourself. And then you see
Mm-hmm.
yourself from an outside perspective, and then you actually realize and you see yourself and you see that's not who I am. And then it's like you start getting detached to the negativity, and it's like it doesn't affect you anymore. So I think I think this is I feel like this could be one of the ways to getting there of because I feel like a lot of people say you have to be positive, think positive. I feel like that's also brainwashing the mind. I feel like that's also like telling
That's
your
positive toxic
yeah,
behavior.
thank you. Yeah, you can explain that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's like manipulating yourself to think a certain way. It's like, but I feel thoughts are thoughts. The way you think or the way it's negative or positive, it's how you're affected and triggered by it or not. And I feel like that connection with the higher power, higher self, God, Allah, whatever anyone believes in and listening to right now, I feel like it's to do with the fact that if you can really connect with that higher power, that higher power could be the one you believe within yourself. If you can connect with that, you can really totally see those negative thoughts or the thoughts that come into you are actually not even you.
Absolutely. Hmm.
That can really
I
empower
totally,
somebody.
I totally agree with you. And you like you said, I'll just add on to it. For me, one of the things when I was on my healing and self-awareness was that I felt ashamed of myself and I felt bad. Oh my goodness, that was me. I had to tell myself, Mavish, God knows that, right? And God accepts you. You sitting on the prayer mat and you're having a conversation with God, Allah. So He loves you. So if He is willing to love you and accept you with your flaws, then why are you holding back? Why don't you take this as an opportunity first to disconnect with all the BS that you believe yourself into being brainwashed, like you said? But once you do, the things you actually believe on your own, uh, you have to forgive yourself and let go of it because we're human. We were born to make mistakes because mistakes don't define us. They don't define us. They don't make us who we are. They are there to teach us life lessons, valuable lessons. And Faiza, I'll just add on one more thing. Uh, and again, I repeat the story a lot, but it's very relevant right now. Is one of my friends asked me, Mavish, if you could go back in time and God gave you the opportunity to change your life, what would you choose? And she was like, oh, all airy about, oh, she choose a romantic, happily ever after life. And I took, I didn't even take a second, and I said nothing. And she's like, what? Are you crazy? You getting an opportunity and you're going to change nothing? I said, you know why? Because my life lessons, my struggles have actually made me more human. I was more arrogant, more uncompassionate before I walked through those battles myself. They've made me more human, they've made me more accepting, and they've made me understand that we're humans, we're gonna make mistakes. We have to take the lesson from it and move on. And same things, forgive yourself and forgive others. So I would never want to unlearn all that. So I think that for me, I would change nothing because I'm happy where I am and where I'm heading towards. You say God always, you have a plan and God has a plan, and God is the best of planners. So I think that when I was in that constant pain and misery, it was like, why me? Why me? I've not hurt anybody like that kind. I'm not a bad person. But now I say, okay, this was the best plan, and this is not my plan. God created it so beautifully and it's so accurate because now I'm living a life of purpose. I'm helping people. I'm happy to be serving people. I was just living life without a purpose, without doing anything. So it totally makes sense. And like you said, anything. I mean, for me, it was God. In my story, it was God. It was Allah. For others who are listening, viewers, it can be anything. But just to find that and to know that is essentially important. Faiza, thank you so much for coming
No problem.
forward and having this
Always.
conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, I have not spoken to this woman before. This is the first live stream I did with her, and I spoke with her. I love her, and I'm definitely going to connect with her and keep in touch with her. Faiza, anything you want to say to the audience, and we'll wrap up on that.
Uh, I feel like I've said everything actually. So, but to wrap it up, yeah, I mean, I feel like if somebody can really, if somebody is going through a journey where in a dark place and they feel like, I don't see any hope, I think then all they have to do is find a way they can connect with themselves, get to know themselves, go on a journey. However, whoever can help them, whether that's somebody on social media or somebody or something they could read or anything that can sort of help them to find a way to know themselves, then yeah, I think that can really help someone. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much once again for coming on board and having this wonderful journey about self love, self care, being authentic. Guys, I hope you had a wonderful time listening and learning from our conversation. On that note, we'll wrap up. Take good care of yourself, Aiza.
Thank you. Take
Bye
care.
bye. Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz. Bye bye. Bye.